Hello, fiends, and welcome to another horrific edition of Casey's Creepy Creations. One of the great things about running a YouTube channel is that sometimes you get to experiment. Tonight's offering is one such experiment. We hope that you will be kind enough to leave us a comment telling us what you thought, so that we know this is the kind of video you'd like to see going forward. Tonight, we have a truly nauseating little nugget that I wrote and narrated, which I like to call the Changelings. As always, we caution that the above video is not suitable for children, and if you suffer from a weak heart, please watch at your own risk. The Changelings. In a remote, cutting-edge laboratory nestled far from civilization, scientists work tirelessly to crack the deepest mysteries of the human genome. The research, funded by shadowy benefactors, promises to revolutionize humanity's understanding of its evolution. The team of geneticists is diverse, a mix of brilliant minds driven by ambition, curiosity, and the dream of making history. The days are long, the air thick with anticipation, as they pour through data, splicing strands of DNA like puzzle pieces. Amid the usual quiet buzz, a breakthrough emerges, one sequence buried deep inside the human genome, unexplainable and unlike any they've seen before. This sequence, dormant for millennia, excites the team beyond measure. Could it explain evolutionary leaps? Could it hold the secret to humanity's past or future? The lead geneticist, Dr. Eleanor Voss, theorizes the sequence has an ambient, untapped purpose waiting to be unlocked. It becomes their mission to activate it, unaware they are stepping into a nightmare far larger than themselves. The team manages to isolate and activate the sequence within controlled lab-grown cells. What happens next puzzles and terrifies them. The cells begin to warp, growing uncontrollably, their structure twisting into monstrous patterns, not random, but precise. It soon becomes clear. The mutations are deliberate, guided by some invisible logic. Dr. Malik Hayes, the team's biochemist, notices a haunting symmetry in the mutations. It's a pattern that feels eerily familiar. Days later, he connects it to celestial diagrams found in ancient texts, designs of unknown origin. Whispers of doubt swirl among the scientists, but excitement keeps their concerns at bay. Curiosity burns hotter than caution as they push forward. Dr. Voss leads the charge, convinced this discovery will redefine humanity. Yet as they dig deeper, abnormalities in their own research data begin to surface. Frequencies, symbols, strange glitches, as though the sequence itself is trying to interact with them. Within a week, anomalies spread beyond the lab-grown cells. Dr. Hayes begins to feel unwell, faint headaches, nausea, and then something worse. Red, vein-like patterns creep beneath his skin. His colleagues panic, running tests on him. His DNA isn't just changing, it's unspooling, rewriting itself faster than they can comprehend. Soon, Hayes begins to physically shift, his limbs warping, bones reconfiguring into grotesque shapes with agonizing speed. But the horror doesn't stop at his body. His mind begins slipping away. Words turn into guttural alien sounds. By the time his colleagues restrain him, Hayes is no longer himself. His consciousness fades, leaving behind a hulking, twisted creature imprisoned in their lab. The team reels from the outbreak. Dr. Voss suggests immediate containment. They must ensure this contamination does not escape the walls of the lab. But curiosity still lingers. What if this isn't an accident? What if they've just uncovered something vastly intelligent, something alive? As they search for explanations, the truth unfolds like a waking nightmare. Deciphering cryptic signals from their data yields a horrifying realization. The genetic sequence is alien in origin. It was embedded in the human genome eons ago, not as an accident, but as a blueprint. Dr. Voss pieces the puzzle together. The mutations aren't random. They're part of a cosmic process. The entity they've accidentally awakened is ancient, older than humanity itself. It is using human DNA to reconstruct its physical form, one person at a time. Things spiral further out of control as whispers and hallucinations plague the remaining researchers. The mutated Hayes begins speaking again, but it isn't his voice. It is something else, an otherworldly presence explaining its horrifying intent. Through him, the entity speaks. I was shattered across time. You are rivers, I am the sea. My return demands flow. It calls itself the Rewritten, a being that existed before Earth's creation, trapped, disassembled at the dawn of the universe. It has waited patiently for eons, hiding in the genomes of intelligent life to orchestrate its rebirth. As the entity spreads through the lab, tensions explode among the uninfected scientists. Dr. Voss insists on continuing to study it, believing humanity's only hope might lie in understanding its purpose. Others, led by Dr. Roland Sedgwick, argue for immediate destruction of the lab and all within it. Their debate is cut short when another team member, Dr. Elena Park, begins displaying early signs of infection. Her skin ripples unnaturally, her eyes taking on a glassy silver hue. Her transformation is swifter than Hayes's. The team watches in horror as she begins to turn, uttering fragmented phrases. The entity's will becomes clearer. It does not seek dialogue with humanity. It does not care for negotiation. Its goal is simple, resurrection, and humanity is merely the material with which it will rebuild itself. The infection spirals rapidly. Hayes and Park, both now monstrous versions of their former selves, break free, driven by the entity's directive to protect and spread. The remaining scientists barricade themselves, scrambling to contain the outbreak. One horrifying truth becomes obvious. The transformations are not limited to the lab. The genetic sequence, now active, seems to ripple outward. Equipment malfunctions and compounding mutations suggest it is transmitting frequencies beyond containment. Dr. Sedgwick devises a desperate plan to flood the lab with an incineration chemical that will dissolve all organic material within its walls. Dr. Voss protests. She believes that stopping the process may trigger an escalation and fears this is only the beginning, that humanity may not escape the entity's grasp so easily. As the infection spreads, the group realizes there is no other option. They gather what little uncorrupted research they have and set the base to self-destruct, knowing this act might also claim their lives. Hayes and Park, now little more than monstrous puppets for the entity, stalk the lab in pursuit of the few who remain. Their alien forms are nightmarish, elongated limbs, churning flesh, and eyes that no longer seem human. Dr. Voss volunteers to stay back. She activates the sequence one last time in herself, hoping to communicate with the entity directly. As her colleagues flee, she begins to transform, her final whispered notes echoing, "It's not done with us." Sedgwick and the others barely escape before the lab erupts into flame, consuming the infected and everything within. For a moment they believe they've won. But as they emerge into the world outside, something feels wrong. Dr. Sedgwick notices subtle ripples in his vision, faint whispers just beyond hearing. His veins, pale and throbbing, ripple with a quiet silver glow. News channels report strange genetic abnormalities appearing in isolated parts of the globe. The surviving scientists realize the horrifying truth. The sequence has already spread. The entity is no longer confined to a single lab. Humanity itself has unknowingly become its vessel. The camera pans away from Earth, out into the silent expanse of space. The stars seem ordinary at first, until far in the distance a faint shape emerges, a figure coalescing, vast and incomprehensibly ancient. Then comes the whisper again, distant but unmistakable. I am the sea, you are rivers. Well, boils and ghouls, we've come to the end of yet another terrifying tale. If you've liked what you've seen, please feel free to drop us a like, a comment, or maybe even a subscription. They may seem like little things to you, but they mean a lot to us here at the dungeon. If you liked the video and would like to find out how it was made, click the link in the description below. I am affiliated with Fleeky AI and will receive commission if you decide to make a purchase. They also have a free plan as well if you would like to try it out. And by the way, if you like what we've got for you here, then maybe you might want to check out these other YouTubers, Overlord DVD, Theta Zord, Osaka Chandal, and Stark of Iron. Links in description. They're to die for. Thanks, and unpleasant dreams until we meet again.